Hey everyone, Richard C. Wilson here, coming to you from Maui this morning. This is all about how people who have done $100 million plus in deals get deals done, what they've learned over that time, and what I've learned while running our investor club for the last 16 years and hosting 190 live events and meeting with 3,000 plus investors face to face. This module is going to be on our event series, which has been called Capital Con over time, but we're thinking of maybe changing the name to $100 million Rainmaker event series, where it's a really unique event. We're the only people that do this. We have 25 or so speakers who do a 10-minute talk, and every speaker has raised $100 million or more, or done $100 million plus in deals. But they only have 10 minutes to share with you their number one secret, strategy, or idea that really made all the difference in them raising a ton of capital and getting a lot of deals done. So what I want to share with you is kind of a meta video of the top takeaways from listening to all 100 plus of these talks over time. I think it's interesting to see what the golden threads are. The beautiful thing about this is that they're not scripted. We let them talk about pretty much whatever they'd like. And if you went out and tried to convince 100 people who have done $100 million plus in deals to have a cup of coffee with you, first of all, it'll take a long time just to identify them, even longer to convince them to have a cup of coffee with you, and then half of them may only want to meet with you if they think they can pitch you their deal. They want to share their insights with our network because there's benefits of doing so, and they grow their reputation and may get good leads for deal flow or partners by doing so. And so we've convinced them to do this on stage for our investor club. And not all of them agree with how I get deals done. Like, I'm a big believer in being politely persistent. It was 12 years of following up that got billionaires.com done. It was a deal that I chased for 18 months last year with 150 emails on how I got that deal done in the dental industry. It was 14 emails to Mark Cuban before he acknowledged that I exist on planet Earth and answered my 3 questions for billionaires.com, which, thank you, Mark, if you ever listen to this. I highly appreciate you doing that. But it was persistence that paid off. We have some people that have spoken at this event who basically said, now I email people one time, they don't latch onto it and they don't like what they see, then I don't follow up. I'm not going to waste my time with people that aren't a good fit for our offering. And that's interesting because it's completely different than my approach. Here are some other insights that came from this. Most important is don't be too hard on yourself if you're having a hard time raising capital. These are people that have all raised $100 million plus, and they have every advantage in the world. They have full-time capital raiser teams. They have the best CRMs. They have the best data. They have all the experience already. They know how to pick the most credible clients to raise capital for or their own projects after learning so much. And they still, after every advantage you can possibly imagine, including 20 years of raising capital full-time, they still usually go after 180 to 250 investor leads to find the 12 to 15 checks that are going to come into that deal. They're not so smart that they can just say, okay, I know what 15 to go to, and they get the deal done. That is not what they said. Over and over again, they said that they would go after still a large number of investors to convert that smaller number. So just keep that in mind. Some other things real quick that I've taken some notes on from all of these was to focus on 1 to 3 areas. Typically, they're not raising capital for 15 different areas. Be politely persistent. Your jump shots have to be hit. You have to be able to make your free throws and get the fundamentals done, the basics done in a credible, professional, consistent way. Respond quickly, in detail, very clearly. Make your process and your value add simple to get. Make things visual and personal. Build real relationships. People do business with other people they trust and like, not with people who claim the highest IRR or the highest returns for their investors. Follow up after a no or a maybe or no response if you think there's a great fit. Customize the structure to the investor and don't be rigid saying, oh, we have a fund. If you don't want our fund, too bad, you can't invest with us. Be flexible and be open-minded on how you structure things. Protect the downside and don't just come with one approach on how that downside could be protected. Come with a few ideas for it so you're not making them think hard on how to protect your downside. You know your deal, you know your niche, you know what's possible. So think really hard on collateral before you pitch to them. Remember that placement agents usually trend upward and they really want to raise capital for things that are easier to raise capital for, not harder. So if they have any experience in raising capital over time, they're going to want to do so for bigger projects, not smaller ones, because it's not as credible. The other thing is that on the smaller deals, many times the only way they'll get involved is if you give them equity or make them a true partner in the deal. If you don't do that, they may not be very motivated and may ignore your request to even work with them or help them in any way. After 100 talks by people who have raised $100 million or more, one thing that I want to point out is that I selfishly take notes on what they say. I selfishly take notes on what our investors say. And over 16 years of running our investor club and hosting 190 live events, everything we're sharing in this $100 million Rainmaker series is really from what I've learned from these talks, from running our investor club, etc. And so the modules that we planned out, the information, the benefits that we're trying to transfer from my brain to yours through these modules is showing you that if you become a member of the Family Office Club community and you start coming to our events and you come to our 10 workshops a year and you come to our quarterly investor club summits, we're going to infuse a specialized knowledge of deal making and investor relations and capital raising into your brain that's going to change and transform the whole way that you work with investors, structure deals, raise capital, and get things done for your company or your investment platform. And I hope that all of these modules are really showing you that we do have the goods, that we do have a ton of insights, that we have a lot of unique ideas, and that it is the unique ideas plus you hitting all your fundamentals, which is really going to make the difference, right? It doesn't matter if you send a printed one-page value-add newsletter to your top 300 investors a month. If you don't have a professional email address, and you don't have visuals of your value-add process in your fund, or if you're not prepared for the due diligence process, which is to come, right? You don't need to do the fancy things if you don't have the fundamentals in place. And a lot of what we take away from hearing these 100 different speakers who have all raised 100 million plus are similar things to what investors say on stage, but the flip side of the coin of what you need to do to appeal to the average sophisticated investor who could write a $250,000 to $1 million, $5 million check. So I hope you see that commonality. If you hear ideas come up a couple of times during this series, it's because those are important, or they're fundamental, or they're core, or they're important for consideration on a few different levels. But I hope you've been finding this helpful. And our last and final module is going to be just a summary module on the whole series. So we'll see you over there on the last quick 2-minute module.